body of your presentation is the most important part. It's where you develop your argument. It's the most complex part. Essentially, it should be make a point, support your point, have a transition to the next point, support that point, transition to another point. Of course, it depends on how long your presentation is, how complex, and what you hope to accomplish. You have to organize the points to accomplish your goal. There are many ways to do this. There are some common patterns. One common pattern is to use time. If you want to discuss how some situation developed, you can use sequencing: first, second, third, next. Or you can talk historically. If you want to talk about the Olympics, you can talk about the history of the Olympics, you can talk about the Olympics today, and project to the future. So if you want to talk about how processes or situations evolved, developed, you use time. If you want to talk about human practices or culture, you can organize your presentation around different places. You can talk about marriage in Saudi Arabia and marriage in Japan and marriage in America. You can talk about different places, compare them and contrast them. Another common organizational pattern is cause and effect. You can talk about psychological depression. You can talk about what it is, and then how it affects different groups, workers, children, what have you. Or you can reverse it. You can talk about how depression affects children or workers or students, and then talk about the cause and potential remedies. Advantages and disadvantages, that's another way to organize your presentation. You can talk about what's good about something and about what's bad about it. You can compare. If you want to talk about joining a university club, for example, you can talk about the advantages of being in a club and compare them with the disadvantages. This is very persuasive. In my example presentation, I will organize my talk in a problem solution format. I will explain a problem, its cause, and then talk about the solution. It's another common way to organize a presentation. Basically, there are many ways to do this. It depends on what you want to do. Are you trying to persuade people? Are you trying to sell something? Are you asking for donations? Are you discussing research? You have to organize the body of your presentation according to what you hope to accomplish. Make a point, support it, transition to the next point. Make it very clear and logical. The hole in the ozone layer. Good news? Let's look at the outline. In the introduction, there's a greeting, and the attention grabber is simply a question of whether people know the good news or not. And then I go into a preview to explain the problem, its cause, and the news before transitioning to the body. In the body, there's a description with a visual aid. I talk about how far it is from Earth and its role of blocking UV. I then turn to 1970 when the problem was discovered. I explain how it's depletion and that the depletion of the ozone causes cancer because of UV light. And there's a second visual aid about the 1980s and 1990s. I then transition to the cause. CFCs, spray cans and refrigerators. And I'll explain how the molecules rise, migrate to where it's cold, and destroy the ozone. And then I transition to the solution. This is the good news. And I show a visual aid that demonstrates how the hole in the ozone is repairing itself since CVCs have been banned. I mentioned that there's a possible problem with landfills, and then I transition to the conclusion. The conclusion is a short summary, a concluding comment about how nice it is to have good news about the environment. I thank the audience and I ask for questions. If I practice, this outline is all I need. I have the ideas and some facts and numbers to help remind me of the order of my presentation, but I do not have to write a text of every word I'm going to say, so I do not read. I just know what I want to say. So let's take a look at the presentation. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Jensen. I'm a earth scientist at State U. I study the ozone layer. I'm sure you've heard about the hole in the ozone layer. Do you know the good news? Well, in this presentation, I will explain what the ozone is, the problem, and give some good news. It should be interesting. I will start with a graphic that explains exactly what the ozone layer is and where it is. It's between the troposphere and the stratosphere. That's about 20 kilometers from the Earth's surface. It's not very thick. It's a few kilometers thick, but it's very important because it blocks ultraviolet light. And ultraviolet light can be harmful. Too much ultraviolet light can be harmful to plants, animals, and humans. It causes skin cancer. The problem arose in the 1970s when some French scientists discovered that the ozone layer is getting thinner. It is not a hole, it's a depletion. It's getting thinner. And this is allowing in more UV light, and this caused more cases of skin cancer. The problem really got worse in the 1980s and 90s. This chart shows the vertical axis shows the size of the hole, depletion of the ozone, and the horizontal axis shows the year. And you can see how it got rapidly bigger and has maintained and slightly decreased in the last years, which is the good news. The cause of the depletion are chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. These chemicals are used in spray cans, aerosol cans, and refrigerators and automobile air conditioning. What happens is when they are released into the atmosphere, into the air, they float up to the ozone, and then they drift. They migrate to where it's cold. So the depletion of the ozone is greatest above the polar regions, where it's coldest. And these chemicals drift to the cold areas, and then they interact with ozone molecules, destroying them, causing the depletion. The solution, since the problem is caused by CFCs, the solution is to stop producing these chemicals. And that, in fact, has happened. Most developed countries have banned the production of CFCs, and since they did this, the hole in the ozone is repairing itself. This graphic shows the blue area is the hole in the ozone in about 10 years ago, 2012 through 2015. Since then, with the banning of the production of CFCs, the hole has been decreasing, and the future projection is for the hole in the ozone to repair itself. The problem is we don't know how many tons of CFCs are locked in landfills and old refrigerators and old automobiles. That could present a problem in the future as these CFCs are freed from the landfills. But as of now, the hole in the ozone is repairing itself, and that is the good news. In conclusion, since we get such little good news about Earth's environment, I accept this as very good news, and I'm very happy to report it. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, I will answer them.